Brad Garlinghouse stood on stage and gave one of the clearest signals about where XRP is going over the next 10 to 20 years. And I think most people walked away thinking that he announced a buyback, and he did not. He actually said the opposite. What he actually confirmed was a multi-year plan to move XRP into the hands of the largest financial institutions on the planet. And that difference means everything if you can understand it. So I want to walk you through exactly what he said and what it means for anyone who is holding this asset. Now, I'm Kamilah Stevenson, and around here we do talk wealth. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you are not already subscribed, so you do not miss what is coming next. And I do want to say this is not financial advice. Always do your own research. And I want to go back again and say, if you are not subscribed, look at the button and hit that subscribe button, because a lot of people will watch the video and realize they're not subscribed. All right, drop in the comments. Are you frustrated about Ripple and the whole idea of the buyback? I see a lot of complaints about this, and people are often upset, about this entire principle of the buyback, right? And so I just want to know what you think about it. Do you look at it as bullish or bearish? Do you not know about it? What are your feelings about it? Please do share that. All right, let's get into this. So in Las Vegas at XRP conference, Brad Garlinghouse was asked directly about the rumored buyback, and he did not confirm a buyback in the way Wall Street uses that word. His exact framing was strategic distribution, right? So he said the goal is to build XRP into the hands of the players who matter, so that when you look back at cryptocurrency 10 or 20 years from now, you can say XRP is held by the most important financial institutions on the earth. So the end game that he described is not Ripple sitting on a treasury full of XRP. The end game is XRP sitting on the balance sheets of the largest financial institutions in the world. So those are two completely different things. And again, I'm just reporting exactly how he explained this. So let me break down the difference between a buyback and a distribution, because they sound similar, but they are not the same. So a buyback is when a company uses its own money to buy back shares from the open market and either retires them or holds them on its own balance sheet. The signal it sends is internal, okay? It tells you that the company believes its own shares are undervalued. And that is what most people probably hear when they hear the term buyback. A distribution is the opposite move. A distribution sends tokens outward away from the company into the hands of selected institutional partners. The signal it sends is external. It tells you who the company believes the long-term holders should be. It tells you the kind of partners they are in real commercial relationships with. It also tells you where the supply is going to be sitting 20 years from now, when XRP is being used to settle real-world transactions at institutional scale. So a buyback is about price, and a distribution is about who holds it. Brad described the second one. The market read the first one. Now look at the institutional pieces that have been put in place in just the last 14 months. And I keep coming back to this because it gives you a different outlook when you can hear it consolidated together. So you have Ripple, who holds a federal banking license from the OCC, which is the U.S. agency that regulates national banks. The license took effect on April 1st of this year. And then remember, Ripple bought G Treasury for over $1 billion, which plugged XRP and RLUSD directly into the cash management systems of Fortune 500 companies, including Subway. Goldman Sachs disclosed a $153 million position across 4 XRP investment funds. The XRP spot ETFs pulled in $82 million in net inflows last month. And then RLUSD crossed $1 billion in market size. So these are real world assets on the XRP ledger, cross multi-billion-dollar levels. And Uphold also just launched a consumer banking layer with FDIC protection on top of XRP custody. Every one of those is a potential recipient of the kind of distribution that Brad is describing, right? And so that is a system that's being built and the holders being chosen. Now, I do want to address the part that a lot of people are still probably thinking, which is, okay, I hear you, but this still sounds like Ripple is selling more XRP into the market. So doesn't that put pressure on the price? Well, let me be direct with you on this. There are 2 completely different ways supply can move out of Ripple's escrow. One is to dump tokens onto the open market where the buyer is anonymous and the price is set by the order book and the supply ends up scattered across retail wallets. So Brad is not describing that. If I'm wrong, you can help me out, but that's not the way I see it, right? Now, the other way is a strategic placement where the buyer is a known institutional partner and the deal is bilateral and the recipient has long-term operational reasons to hold the asset. That is what an institutional distribution looks like in any asset class. In stocks, it's called a private placement. In bonds, it's called a strategic block trade. The supply leaving escrow under this kind of plan is supply that ends up on institutional balance sheets and stays there. That to me is the opposite of dumping supply into retail. That is structurally less supply available for the rest of the market and not more. Now, let me also bring up something that I think is one of the most underrated stories as it pertains to XRP, and that is the end game that Brad described, which is XRP in the hands of the most important financial institutions on the earth. And that is exactly the precondition required for XRP to do the work that the protocol was built to do. Okay, so the XRP ledger was not designed to be a retail trading asset. It was designed to be a settlement layer for value moving between financial institutions. For the protocol to function the way it was built, the asset has to be held by the institutions doing the settling. If XRP sits entirely on retail exchanges and millions of small wallets, it cannot do the institutional work that the network was designed for. If XRP sits on the balance sheets of the institutions that need to settle with one another, then the network can finally do what it was made to do. So the distribution plan is not, to me, just a marketing strategy. It is the operational requirement for the network to function at the scale the original design intended. And I always say that XRP was meant for institutions, right? So the signal for you sitting underneath the network as a holder is that the institutional holder set is being deliberately built in front of us in real time. So here's what that means for you. The long-term holder set for XRP is being concentrated into the largest financial institutions on earth, and the supply available to retail is going to be structurally smaller on the other side of this multi-year distribution. The question becomes whether your XRP is sitting when this finishes maturing. This is why I do keep a portion of my XRP inside a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is a retirement account where every dollar of growth stays yours forever, right? And so the IRS is not going to get a cut, not when you sell or in retirement or anything. You keep it all. And the reason why I keep it in this account is because I have a longer time horizon on this. I see where XRP is going in the future. I understand what the institutions are doing, and I understand the supply and demand dynamics. Okay. And so I trust lets you hold real native XRP inside of that account. And as it grows, I will be able to keep every dime that's in that account. And at any point when I sell, again, you can sell inside your retirement account, by the way. Every dime that I make from it is completely mine. Also, they do have gold and silver backed by real gold and silver, and they have RLUSD. And I actually just saw where they are giving a percentage off of holding RLUSD. And then HBAR, XDC, Quant, XLM, Flare, they're all in there as well. It just depends on what it is that you believe in long term. You can hold those assets inside of a Roth IRA and keep every dime of appreciation. And so the link is in the description for that. There is a $100 free funding bonus when you fund the account. And they also are adding on stocks and ETFs in the summer. So you can also take advantage of that as well. Their goal is to be able to have one account that you can invest in various different types of assets. And so also, I do want to say this. The single biggest mistake I see XRP holders make has nothing to do with which exchange they use or how much they hold. The mistake is really trying to figure out all of this alone, right? Watching videos, reading threads, second guessing every decision, then waking up 2 years later in the same position they started in because they never actually built a plan. You have to build a plan. And that is exactly what my clarity calls are for and why it exists. is you get that time with me and we go over your specific situation, your specific numbers and timeline and tax strategy and how you protect your assets and how you make even passive income off of this. And you will walk away with a written game plan instead of a head full of information that never becomes action. And also, my coaching community is open for those who want ongoing weekly support and a room of people who are actually executing. So both links are in the description. And then also, don't forget, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this buyback. Does it frustrate you? Do you understand it? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? I really want to hear from you and just see how you are processing everything. Go ahead and like the video if it added value, and subscribe if you have not already, and hype it if you're feeling extra kind today. And as always, I want you to stay wise, stay wealthy, and I'll see you in the next video.